John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
The Round Table of Arthurian legend referred to the Rainbow Round Table. The Rainbow Round Tables are groups of angelic humans assembled in 4 evolutionary rounds who are commissioned to run the rainbow ray or Kunda ray primal sound current from beyond the 15-dimensional time matrix into Earth's planetary shields during stellar activation cycles. Running of the Rainbow Round during SACs, or stellar activation cycles, which I'll use from now on, SACs, enables the planet to retain its natural electromagnetic balances to avert pole shift and restores the organic D12 planetary Christos alignment. Since the 9558 BC Atlantean flood, knowledge of the Rainbow Round Tables has been intentionally hidden from the angelic human races of contemporary Earth by human Illuminati and fallen angelic races that desire to create pole shift during the long-anticipated 2000 through 2017 AD SAC. They hope to use the 2000-2017 SAC to finally fulfill their plan of clearing Earth's real estate of angelic human races to later resettle their hybrid races on Earth after the dust settles, under a one-world order, anti-Christic agenda of totalitarian exploitation and dominion. Now, the conspiracy. The fallen angelic Illuminati human anti-Christic agenda gained a stronghold on Earth in 2500 BC when Nibiru and Marduk Anunnaki, which are composed of Anunnaki, Omicron and Draconians, seized control of Nibiru and Earth's D4 Universal Solar Stargate 4 in an event known as the Lucifer Rebellion. The name Lucifer comes from a hybrid Pleiadian Nibiruin Anunnaki race that emerged through combining the density 2 Nibiruin Lulitan family of the Toth Enki Zephylium Anunnaki lineage with the Satane family of the Marduk Anunnaki line and the D11 Necromaton, the beetle reptiles, the fallen seraphim race of Andromeda. From this hybridization, the Pleiadian Samjazi Luciferian Anunnaki and Marduk Necromaton Luciferian Anunnaki races of Sirius B, Nibiru and Alpha and Omega Centauri emerged. This collective of Anunnaki races promoting an anti-Christic dominion agenda became known historically as the Luciferians, and were occasionally joined by other Anunnaki and Illuminati human race lines in their quest for the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is a term used in reference to the 12 universal signet stargates of the Universal Templar Complex, to which the angelic human race holds the sacred commission of guardian. The Grail quest began long before angelic humans were seated on Earth, and it has been the primary theme of motivation behind all of the forbidden and recorded distorted human history. The Grail quest for Earth's planetary Templar stargates continued into angelic human 12 tribe seeding 3, following destruction of seedings 1 and 2 via Grail quest wars with Anunnaki and Draconian fallen angelic legions. During the 2500 BC Lucifer rebellion, Anunnaki Luciferians gained partial control over Earth's Templar through a device called the Nibiruian Diodic Crystal Grid, which is still in operation today and serves a key role in the potential outcome of the 2000 through 2017 AD stellar activation cycle. In 22326 BC, the Luciferian Anunnaki races decimated Guardian races, attempting to intervene in an event known as the Yearn massacre, which took place on what remains as the Lemurian continent, now known as Kauai, Hawaii. In 3650 BC, the Nibiruan Luciferians orchestrated the Mayan raids, and in 3470 BC, the Babylon massacre was waged, in which Pleiadian Nibiruan legions, Galactic Federation, and the Anu Melchizedek human Illuminati gained temporary control over the Magi Grail King's Ark of the Covenant gold box, which contained the rod and staff Stargate tools. In conjunction with the Nibiruan Diodic Crystal Grid at Stonehenge, England, the Ark tools were used in Babylon to cause temporary collapse of Earth's magnetic grids and set portions of the fire letter sequences in Earth's planetary shields into reverse sequence. Planetary shield distortions of the 3470 BC Babylon massacre caused mutation in the human DNA template that shortened the human lifespan, blocked higher sensory perception, caused loss of race memory, and a scrambling of our original language patterns, which are built upon DNA template fire letter sequencing. Our race has been amnesiac, dying young, and babbling on in rhetorical conflict ever since. This historic event was recorded as the biblical Tower of Babel story. Following the Babylon massacre of 3470 BC, fallen angelic selected chosen ones, Anu Melchizedek hybrid descendants, for minimal DNA template repair and implantation, through which the Luciferians and competing Jehovian Anunnaki and Draconian legions could begin their progressive infiltration of human spiritual and political systems. Through the technology of remote channeling, conducted through unnatural DNA template implantation, the chosen ones have been progressively fed Anunnaki history and distorted patriarchal, war god spiritual teachings in a strategic and intentional replacement of the angelic human heritage. They are once again channeling to us and visiting today as the dominant force in the New Age and UFO movements.
Hey guys, under Hodge, 7 of Truth, Infinite Potential Healing with you once more. I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey, and I hope 2022, despite how crazy and uncertain a lot of things are, it has been a awesome year of personal growth for you, and if you've allowed me to be a part of your journey, I really appreciate it. It's quite a challenging year, with a lot going on, a lot of real despicable sort of stuff being revealed, and I think it's going to get even worse as the wind picks up, when I haven't had any wind to blow my pages around. But I'm going to try and focus a bit here. There's a lot of moving parts. I've been brewing certain aspects of information for a while, and I've just had all these individual parts, and I had a pretty awesome aha moment just this weekend or the last few days. So and it's something that's pretty crazy in the reality regarding the consumption of insects sort of thing. So I've got a variable, I think, with that. I feel with that, and I wouldn't be saying this unless I'm pretty confident. And it has a relationship to the Incarnation War. So if you've been across me a while, it was about, I have a lot of mosquitoes around me because it's pretty good weather down here. And I hope you listened to the Earth Pranic Healing Part 7 that I did over the weekend. I included a lot of teachings and information in there. I also included a pretty epic, just dropping a hint relative to an epic session I had on the 4th of November with a really amazing being. So I thank them for seeking me out. But between the 5th and 7.5 hours in, we did some Galactic Special Forces work, and we freed up some trapped magi souls from 70,000 years ago with some really despicable negative spells, like locking them in. So yeah, there's a lot of people probably that are around me relative to Indigo Guardian Founder sort of stuff that I'm into now, that'll have a lot of aspects coming through to you. I'm going to be very vague with that, but my advice to you guys is master you here and do all you can in this aspect of who you are, whether that's energy hygiene sort of stuff, any advice I've sort of given, or any of the advice that feels right for you. I recommend my Infinite Potential Soul Contract Revocation version 2.1, at least. If it's in the future, I've done an update, but yeah, very interesting. It was epic, right? So that sort of aspect has a potential role with the Incarnation War, for them to be free to go through that. But my attitude with what I was saying there was more, these might be like a tenth, for example, of gaining back what you should have had already. Okay, so yeah, just see what happens and see how you feel, and keep pushing hard, all right, in your development. But I feel I've got some interesting data to add to the Incarnation War. I was thinking this might be pattern recognition part 2, because the very second multi-dimensional method to 3D madness I did long ago. I'm getting quite distracted by mosquitoes here. I've already got a few. But yeah, I did the Incarnation War over 12 months ago now, and that was, I finished that off before I got into the Ashiana stuff, so it was a different perspective. But the concept of an Incarnation War is definitely valid. So this might be part 6, and this is expansion with basically I'm getting a perception now that the Incarnation War, there's an increased rate of churn that they're wanting, because the volume is overwhelming in some respects, so they're needing to do some stuff to increase the churn, right? So I'll get to that, what I mean by that. So perhaps I'll call this Incarnation War Part 6, the increased rate of soul churn, alright, going on. So I don't know what I'll call this at the moment. It might be pattern recognition part 2, which I think pattern recognition is vital. So what I'll show you is just an image that I've done, and I've shown the last couple of videos that I've done. I call this image discernment mechanics, alright, and I've shown it. I'll show it on the side of me, and with the infinite potential pattern recognition one, I haven't shown for a while, but this I feel is a more accurate representation of pattern recognition. So this information is going to be quite out there. Incarnation more is seldom accepted concept in this reality. There's so much dogma and stuff about most of the religions and stuff. They don't even allow it, let alone accepting as a concept. And so this is a very advanced sort of teaching for the majority out there. All right, so I've created the 5-part episode last year, which I went from Dolores Cannon, which was quite entry level, to because it's fascinating. She's saying there's no negative species out there. So I'll just show you this, because this is the depth. This is the narrative image that I haven't shown for a while because it was from Chaos. Echoes part 5, I think, our potential beyond the narrative. So this is quite deep in the narrative, so quite deep down. Like the outrage mob is like level 2. They all want to get Mr. Robot and destroy the world rather than get rid of the aspect that is messing with it. So yeah, the Incarnation War is very, very deep in the narrative. So it's a courageous concept to contemplate, and I'm going to give you a lot of interesting information, right? Because one of the interesting aspects that I've learned over this last 12 months or so, exploring the information I have, and I wouldn't be sharing all these concepts that I've gone in that last 12 months unless I accepted from my own pattern recognition. It's an invitation to you to contemplate and explore and add to your data sets of your algorithms, launching your foundation off, right? But for me, it's my truth, and it's expanded so much. So one of the concepts I've sort of said is the phantom matrix, all right? So just simply put, to me, it's a giant entity that's harvesting from our universe. It's not sustainable, so it needs life force and energy and stuff to gain its sustenance, all right? And it's very big scale, and it's gone on for billions of years. And what Ashiana said 20 years ago, saying there was billions of years worth of life force over there, but it's relentless, all right? It's all they know. That's why there's a lot of negative species here and stuff, all right? So it's this universe versus that universe, and the good species here and the bad species here, and a lot of the bad species here have been influenced by that. So it's quite logical and simple and straightforward when you get that context, right? So a lot of the videos, the Echo series, the ones with Carlene and stuff, they're all across that. But I haven't done the Incarnation War for a long time because I didn't really feel it was worth doing. But I actually feel I've got a lot of really good data, all right? So what I'm going to do is show you another image. So in that Incarnation War series, I basically had Atlantis and Lemuria's, the rise and falls, light and dark and stuff, and the waves of positive and domination control, so that the bottom is the dark, the top is the light. 3 Atlantises, 3 Lemurias and stuff. And that's the sort of information I was going on back then, right? But I've sort of expanded that. So if I show you the next image, what I did recently was, so the one over that side is relative to that. You know, there's been Incarnation Wars and concepts of good and bad and blah blah blah. But with the Ashiana stuff, it's more like there's been the phantom matrix, negative species. So it hasn't so much been the technical versus spiritual, which is the Lemuria versus Atlantis sort of thing. And we're going good again to more spiritual. It's been Guardian founder, original souls from this universe versus the phantom matrix species and subspecies, and the domination and the relentlessness that they have and their efforts to control. And all the Babylon Massacre and all that sort of stuff, if you've gone through the Echo series, is all about that, all the variables and stuff, and I'll expand on it more. But yeah, it's more a different context, if that makes sense. So the Incarnation War is relative to this because it's been dominant, and we lost the surface 25,000 years ago with the Ayani Massacre and stuff. Alright, so it's more, to me, it's more this pattern. Alright, so we're still in it, it's ongoing. The Incarnation War is a variable in the domination, and yeah, but I feel I've got some positive information to get to relative to what's going on, because it doesn't seem like it's that positive, right? So one of the images I've shown in the Echo series is the setup for failure, that the 2012 blah blah blah, the spiritual movement and stuff, alright? And this is an image I've shown in the Echo series, but what we're in now is the revealing of the setup for failure of even the spiritual alternate ET community, alright? And I've used the clip of the 1750 setup for failure, alright, and I might show it again just to get to your point, because it's so vital you actually get that concept that the actual alternate spiritual community was a setup for failure as well, and we're all trying to find our way and navigate in it. So I'm just going to show you the other image. So this is the one I've shown recently a few times, alright, particularly the off-world angles here. Like, as I've said quite a few times, that I'm putting them into my red zone of discernment, right? So even the lineages with the talents were seeded a lot in the 1750s after, and if you go through to Infinity and Beyond number 9 with Carlene, she talks about the witch burnings and stuff was the conclusion of that, which was going on several hundred years before that. But the clip I show you is relative to what they're talking about, the seeding of the setup for failure. So I might show you that clip now, because it's very, very important you get it, alright? And I'm going to put it many times because to lock it in, alright?
Fall of Akhenaten, or however you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it Akhenaten. That's you know. Do you ever see the books coming out about the hero Pharaoh? Pharaoh Akhenaten. That he went into the he did Tel El Amarna and completely changed or tried to transpose his single god worship over the multiple god Egyptian worship of the other Leviathan races. Well, he was supposed to be part of a bioregenesis experiment. Part of the Emerald Covenant, he was an Anunnaki that was supposed to come in and try to help to create a race line that would allow these distorted race lines to begin to move through. And he failed miserably. He ended up on the other side. And now, he's being glorified by channels and all sorts of stuff. Guess who they're talking to? All right. So they attempt to enter the attempt to enter Hyksos Egyptian king line into the Ceres Egyptian Magi Grail line for Galactic Federation Hyksos Emerald Covenant entry. So here Galactic Federation decides maybe it'll try this, right? They decide they'll be nice and yeah, okay, we want to do Emerald Covenant. Okay, and the Hyksos, all right, so they are going to do a Hyksos genetic bioregenesis program. Pharaoh Akhenaten fails in his intended Emerald Covenant mission in favor of Anunnaki Luciferian agenda. That's like the Thoth, Shamjazi, Palladian, and all those guys, and is killed by competing Draconian agenda uncle. Galactic Federation defects from Emerald Covenant. All they really wanted to do was get the gene line going anyway. There's a huge history of, okay, we'll be nice now, we're really, really sorry. Yes, we'll do that to make it up, but we want to be in Emerald Covenant now. And as soon as they get in and start getting a little bit trusted, they take you and stab you in the back with it. So this has been going on the whole time. You think the founders would say, all right, already, we just don't believe you anymore. But that would be judging instead of loving and not allowing the opportunity for healing to take place. So they have put up with this for eons.
It was long known among the competing Knights Templar, Jehovian and Nephidim. Nephidim are Omicron Draconian, Anu, Melchizedek, Illuminati humans. In circles, it was long known that the New World of America was the old world of which grew Atlantis, the location of the central control site Gruel Point, which is Gate 2, for Earth's planetary shields was once part. The competing quest for control of Lohas Atlantis Stargate 11, the Brewer Atlantis Gruel Point Gate 2, and other Stargate locations in Earth's Templar complex have been at the heart of the continual conflict and race hatred and dominion campaigns throughout our recorded human history. The three competing factions of Anu Melchizedek races, representing the Luciferian, Jehovian, and Draconian dominion agendas, emerged from our ancient pre-Atlantean past, through Lemuria, Atlantis, and our early recorded history, into the powerful global infrastructure of the contemporary interior world government, Illuminati, One World Order agenda. As part of the planned, premeditated Atlantean conspiracy strategy, in 1750 AD, the Galactic Federation and Pleiadian, Nibiruan, Luciferian, and Anunnaki races began making remote contact with chosen ones, descendants of the respective Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races, who carried the DNA Templar implantation, allowing for telepathic rapport from their genetic ancestral line. After rising to covert power in Europe and various other regions, Galactic Federation and the Pleiadian Nibiruans motivated the American Revolution and the founding of the United States of America via secret society, occult school inspiration of their Luciferian Knights Templar Anu Melchizedek Illuminati races. This contact progressed from infiltration of ancient traditional religious control dogmas with their inner circle elite occultists into what has become the New Age channeling movement. The New Age movement is primarily dominated by Jehovian, Sirius A, Luciferian, Pleiadian, Nibiruan, Marduk Necromaton Luciferian of Alpha Centauri and Sirius B, Luciferian Centaurs of Omega Centauri, and some Necromaton and Dromi channel contacts. Following covert surveillance that began in 1916, the Zeta, the Little Greys, those races began physical interaction with Earth on behalf of the Zephilium, the reptile insect people of the Draconian agenda races of Orion. In the 1930s and 40s, Illuminati human Anu Melchizedek descendants of the Zephilium Zeta, Omicron Dacronian, the dragon moths, and Odedicron reptile avians, Draconian agenda races of Orion, entered One World Order Dominion treaties with the Orion Zeta Regalian races. The Zeta treaties initiated the formation of Majestic 12, which began the contact phenomena of what has become the contemporary UFO movement. In 1983, the Orion Omicron and Odedicron Dacronian agenda legions assumed the leadership role in the Zeta treaty agreements.
So, you had the transposition of race identity taking place in the regions of Ionia, Italy, and Greece, and those areas, and it began the corruption of the Ionian Grail Kings line and their CDD plate spiritual teachings, because they had some of the teachings still in written form from the ancient translations of the CDD plates. So, guess where some of these are still stored? Yes, you got it. Yeah. This is the stuff that they'll blow it up before they let anybody find it, literally. Okay, so these distorted teachings were the foundations for the Church of Rome, the Catholic religious control dogma political machine began. 23 AD, Essene Divide. This was Galactic Federation again. Galactic Federation unites groups of Luciferian Hyksos King and Jehovian Hassa King, Anu Melchizedeks, to raid Emerald Covenant mission of the Magi Grail King Essenes, Jeshua, John the Baptist, and Miriam in Tel El Amarna, Egypt. This is where this was taking place. Tel El Amarna is where Akhenaten's place used to be, where Pharaoh Akhenaten had his place, where he had moved the capital to El Marna. Now, El Marna is a portal link. It has portals that link to the inner earth portals, and you can make it very quick. This is how they got the Ark of the Covenant up to the box, up to Ireland in the Joshua period, because they were able to take it through the Elmarna gates in the inner earth and take it back up through another gate portal that led up into Ireland. I mean, it would have been an awful long walk, if they tried to, so this was, they got it there by portals. So this area, again, was always an area that the Guardians kind of hung out in, because it was connected to, to the inner earth portal, one of the portals that you were allowed to open and close with the rod and the staff, or they would open or close on the other side for you. It was still functionally, you could use it. It was just it wasn't a Stargate, which are the vertical ones. It was just a portal, which can move between, like on a horizontal axis. And there were some of those that had remained open, through this period. So the Essene Divide took place as a galactic federation. They just had their fingers in everything. These guys, I feel bad for the person who's channeling them. I really do. I mean, they have their books out and all that kind of stuff with their, they're teaching you the 12 chakra system, and they're teaching you that you have 12 DNA strands that are single heli, which, comes out to be 6 double heli strands, because they're telling you you're activating 12, but you're really only activating 6 in reverse. The person who channels these and writes the books, he doesn't know this. He has no idea that this, that this is what's going on. He doesn't know who these people are. He never asked for a resume. He was just told he was one of them. And because that's one of the seduction elements that's used here. All of a sudden you feel special because somebody out there through there likes you and says you're important and says you're part of their team. And that's how there's manipulation done, continually here, even if you don't have the memory banks. I went through a period when probably between my teens and early 20s, where I wouldn't even talk to the Guardians sometimes. Because I go, well, how do I know I can trust you? You're telling me this stuff. And they said, think about it. You don't have to talk to us if you don't want to, but just think about it. And I did, and it was the memory that did it for me. Because I remembered so many things from the time I came in. I had the movies running in my head. And nothing they had said counteracted any of that. And I knew that was me. I could feel it, like I could feel my soul, my oversoul, the whole bit. There was a knowing that was beyond belief. And that's where I learned to trust, because even at that point in my teens, with the contact that I had with the Guardians, and then what the Zeta races and those guys were trying to do to make sure I didn't grow up to become a speaker, you get like, well, who do you trust? And it was through the process of having the memory, and I knew it was mine. Every ounce of me resonated with it, and the memory of ascension, where I had the memory of what it took and what technologies we used and what it felt like to go back home all the way out of density and to come back in again. It was because I had that memory to play the contact off of that I was able to begin to trust the Guardians. And then the integrity of the information they were bringing through, it began to progressively get more intense and more intense, never ever contradicted itself. I did not read anything. I have a 10th grade education, right, in like American school systems. I didn't even finish high school. I got a GED later, and then I went for about a year on a non-matriculating basis to junior college. That's the only education I have. I never had history education. I never had any kind of heavy-duty science education or anything. It became obvious that somebody knew something, because the more information that was brought through, I hadn't read a bunch of channeling books. I didn't study any Ruby Order teachings. I didn't study Drunvalo. I didn't know any of those things. So the stuff was coming through, and then they'd say, go to a bookstore and look for this. And then I find something that said pieces of the big amount that they give me, there'd be a book or two that had something to do with what they talked about when they talked about the word amente. And it's like, okay, it resonates. I feel that from somewhere. What was that? I know it's important. And I get the information from the plates on it. And then I say, okay, this is what we're saying. And I used to think, oh, Lord, and I have to bring this out to the world, how it's like a fiction novel that somebody wrote compared to the mainstream. Like, how are they even going to believe me? And they'd make me feel better by saying, go to a bookstore, look. And they'd tell me what bookstore to go to, and like some part or even sometimes the whole title of what to look for. And they'd say, there, it's already partially out there. So I'd get the book and I'd read parts of it just that had to do with the information that I was given. And I was amazed at how much more detail we were given than the books that were already published. So there's a progressive growing of a trust relationship. And now, you look at the cohesiveness of the teachings, everything from the healing to the universal structure, down to the political dramas, to the history. They cover all the bases. And I know my experience is valid. So it's like, there's been so much manipulation that's gone down. It's hard for anybody to tell the difference right away with what you're dealing with. But I just wanted you to know that in my personal experience, I didn't just buy into the usual thing that a lot of channels trip into. I'm important now, somebody's talking to me, oh goody, I don't care who it is, you know, where they think it's a good person, they think it's an angel, they think it's something, you know, they believe the words they're told without having a memory reference directly and without having any larger context to play that information off of. I didn't do that, and I just wanted you to know that, because I went through my own ringer with, will I trust or won't I trust? Will I accept these, you know, the teachings as they're coming through? Will I accept my life experience as it's coming through? I didn't have much option as far as, okay, I can reject it all and pretend I don't know any of it. I can pretend I don't remember all sorts of things that sometimes I wish I didn't as far as my other lives, but that would be self-denial. That would have been denying my whole existence and my whole experience of God being with me and my soul. So it was a process, and I just wanted you to know that. All right, back to the unseen divide, anyway. Okay.
So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. It's such a powerful set of videos, right? So you see that the teachers and the community was weaponized on the incarnation level against us, alright? And we're only just now getting that. I mean, my information, I'll show you the contrarian view, alright? So I'm going against the herd, alright? I'm sticking my neck out because I've been involved with the missions, and as I said in Earth Mother Pranic Healing Part 7, I recommended linking to Galactic Special Forces Part 5 with Nikki, where we clobbered a species trying to destroy a planet in the Orion star system, alright? Because they're at play now, and I reckon with the exopolitics and stuff, alright, that's who's messing with the Earth and stuff, alright? Because we worked out there was a lot of stuff going on in Florida that we've had to sort of work on and fix, alright? So I'm getting a lot of mozzies, alright? So another aspect of the incarnation war going on, and this is crazy, right? What I worked out when I went to Lisa Renee's Ascension Glossary and looked at Tiamat was that basically it triggered me to realize that this has gone to the next level. They've actually destroyed Tiamat and captured her as a soul. And Nibiru that's on the other side, Nibiru that's on the other side of the Phantom Matrix, alright? And part of Earth is over there, and they've been attacking us with entities and stuff from that side. Right, and it's been relentless. Like, I perceive all the entities and all that sort of stuff. Not all of them, but when I do interact with people, it's working on a sensitivity level beyond the narrative that most people accept, and I can just feel it. So yeah, what I worked out by scanning that Ascension Glossary with Lisa Renee and Tiamat, I realized, holy shit, they've actually destroyed a higher density planet, higher density than us, captured its soul and using it to breed the entities over the other side. And so when I'm talking the incarnation war and the increased rate of churn, there's a potential that there's an effort to churn through the positive souls trying to break through all this and all this crap through the Kashabala Shida and all that radio body and get through the natural earth and stuff, that they're being captured, put into sort of animals and stuff to send over to keep this control cycle going. Does that make sense? So they're fueling this to breed the entities, to send them back over to distort our reality and stuff. It's just really, really crazy, right? So I'm trying not to get too deep. I've talked about these things in the other videos, and I might just try and get to this point pretty quick here and go deeper in it, alright? So I haven't shown this for a while, but I'm inviting you to go into the unknown quite a bit and expand on the incarnation war concept, because it is quite a challenging one for a lot of people to have. There's a lot of belief systems in this world and stuff that, say, religions, Catholic sort of stuff that are there that interrupt with what is the truth and stuff, so it can be challenging to accept, but I'm just inviting you to expand that, alright? Because I'll show you another image, because I've got this where the technology trying to the whole transhuman thing sort of from my perspective is trying to disconnect us from the source frequency of Earth Mother, alright? So I've got the Vatican there that sort of metaphorically brought about, say, Latin, and there was no education and stuff, so they created the spiritual middleman from Earth and stuff, so there's the whole structure going on, right? I'm just going to move through these pretty quick. So the consistent thing that's going on is that there's a potential for more waking, which is reducing the volume of the unaware, right, that are used for maintaining the system. So as the volume reduces, they need to increase the craziness, right? So an aspect of this is also that the Incarnation war is becoming unsustainable, so they've got to increase the rate of churn of incarnation or sending the souls over to the Phantom Matrix, alright? This is a metaphor of what I'm getting, is that there's an increased rate of volume of positive incarnation potential, alright? So say if the lines of the incarnation stranglehold are failing, so there's an increased rate of positive souls able to sort of break through the incarnation embargo. So if I go back to the other image, so I've shown this one before, all right? And what I perceive is there's an external support line embargo, like a full siege going on for a very long time, and there's no real. I'm being very broad, and I might be going against some of the species out there. I don't think it's 100%, but the vast majority, in my opinion, to not be trusted. All the off-world stuff, they're perpetrators that have created this reality and got it under domination, because we haven't had any control over the surface for 25,000 years in the Iani massacre. All right, so it's big scales. History that's been written of these last 25,000 years, all right, has eliminated anything to do with the guardians and indigos and stuff like that, all right? So, yeah, just raise your bar into the sermon of anything off-world at the moment. That's my advice. That's what I'm doing. I don't really trust anything out there from at the moment, because it's about us on the surface, the indigos, the guardians and stuff, and that's been the big war that's gone on for a very long time. And yeah, I'm just going to move on. So why did I come up with this, alright? Because I was actually pondering quite a bit for a while. I was actually pondering quite deeply for a while, and I don't know, because the Ashiana stuff has been very profound for me. And what I've done, alright, is I've set a challenge in that last Earth Mother Pranic Healing video. What I did is I said, look, we've got 6 weeks or so till December 21st, the solstice. I've got that page on my website where you can download all the audios, and set an intent to see how much you can develop in that time. So you've got 6 or 8 weeks or so to really have the opportunity to really work on them and see what you get, alright? And my attitude is, if you invest a considerable amount of time, it'll change you profoundly, and you'll start seeing through all the reality and all the falsehood and stuff, and you will be an anchor of truth in this reality for the rest to follow, from my perspective, right? But what I was getting, right, there's a couple of things. So there's all the Chaos 19 that's gone on. So if you see, alright, if we do an overview, so why did they introduce the eating bugs sort of crap, alright? So my attitude is, if the Incarnation War has been unsustainable to defend against, alright, I was getting a while back, maybe the last couple months, that they're actually redirecting souls in my region into the livestock and animals, and they're sending them over to the Middle East or to some of the countries that do specific ceremonies on the animals to actually sacrifice them in a way that goes off to the Phantom Matrix. Not all methods and stuff, but it's a bit like, say, the Vikings doing sacrifice over the Ermin soul. And I don't believe anything. I've had a look for the Ermin soul sort of stuff if you've gone through my Echoes Part 8. But to me, all the history that's about that isn't anything what it's about. And these Magi's that we released last week, to me, they have a connection to that, alright? And it's 70,000 years ago, alright? So I don't trust the history. If you listen to what's gone on with the Ashiana stuff that I said, the history has been wiped in the last 12,000 years since the Atlantean conspiracy got implemented and stuff. So what I was getting is, if the volume is increasing, so this green line is the rate of volume increase, so it's a positive. So if you look from that side, the rate is increasing, alright? If humanity are living to 70 to 100 years of age, there's not that much rate of churn, alright? So what they needed to do was actually redirect the souls to the livestock, and the livestock was living to I'm just being very broad and ballpark, but you imagine the variable of sending souls into the livestock, alright? They might live 2 to 20 years, alright? And so the craziness going on is that they're getting us to eat bugs now. So if you know bugs, alright, and the crickets or whatever, they live for days, alright? So the rate of churn is exponential compared to what it is. The graph isn't to scale or anything like that, but do you get the context of what I'm saying? Is it's not the be-all, end-all variables, but one of the variables relative to insects I'm seeing is they're employing it to deal with the overload of positive incarnation going on. So they're getting us. There's a movie out there that's pretty popular. It's called Silent Green. It was in the 70s, and what they do is they actually get us to eat the human sort of stuff. And it's not related to that, but it's a metaphor because it's an incarnation war, alright? And it's a battle to get into the incarnation of a human body to actually the Guardians versus the Phantom Matrix species, alright? So very interesting, isn't it? Alright? So if we see how things are, and the craziness doesn't add up, alright? What if you contemplate this? Does it help you appreciate what's going on? Alright? What doesn't make sense makes total sense, because you have to go to the scumbag level, the diabolical level of what's going on. Alright? And so this is my appreciation. So this is why I was linking up to pattern recognition part. This might be part 2 of pattern recognition. Because in part 1 I talked about my appreciation of Dr. Weston Price, and he went around the world, looked at all the indigenous, because he couldn't find healthy people at all with straight teeth and stuff, but he found that it profound that the indigenous were all very healthy, straight teeth, stunning, like photographic and bone structure and stuff like that. So what he did, long story short, is he reverse engineered all the food that they ate. Alright, and the pattern I got from him was the region menu is unique, but the outcome is common, because the pattern that the people would use, like consume, is a common core nutritional regime, consistent across the board, and their sacred food was vitamin K2. Alright, so what I'm saying is different regions have different control. Right, so say in Australia, and I'm being very broad with the livestock, because we used to send I haven't really done a lot of research, and I did a bit, and it's quite interesting, but back in the 90s it was pretty big, and what we would do is send them, like, a lot of sheep over to the Middle East. And so if I put up the image of the Middle East and stuff, right, they have a lot of Metatron strongholds. There's a lot of different variants in the belief structures over there, but the common ingredient for a lot, for various things, is, say, Mecca, the box. And in some of the religions, they've got a box on the head and stuff like that. It's the Metatron cube. It's just like when you graduate from uni, you get the square head on your head, all right? It's all related to Metatron, like the Metatron sort of programming of the reality program, and the law, which is Saturn, which is the Lord of the Rings, which is a shard of Metatron from my perspective and stuff. So the region, like our region, we didn't have war and stuff to churn all this stuff out and send them over to the Phantom Matrix. But say my attitude is, holy cow, they're redirecting a lot of the positive souls into the animals, and then they're sending them off to slaughter and sacrifice to then harvest the souls and send them over to the Phantom Matrix, alright? So if we do it more recently with all this bug shit, alright, to me that's an indicator that those regions are broken the back of the Incarnation more, and they need to implement that to be strategic on that respect. And that's why the fart tax and all that, like the livestock, isn't enough now, which means that there is positive stuff, but it's diabolical in its positive nature. Alright? So I just want to offer this as a pattern recognition. Discern the crap out of me, alright? Discern this at a high level and have it perhaps in the red or the black. And the green is your circle of trust of the information you accept and the concepts. But my attitude is the Ashana stuff has helped me expand many things relative to the Incarnation more and make it even more appreciative. So as I said, alright, I'll just share another image. The difference between the Lemuria spiritual sort of stuff and the Atlantis technical sort of stuff, to me it was all Phantom Matrix versus the Indigos, Guardians, Magi sort of stuff, right? And so I also want to add this, right? You know how you might get a soul reading and it says, oh, you've been good and bad and all that sort of stuff, right? I actually feel that's not actually accurate. I mean, if you tap into your nature, do you actually feel like you've been bad, alright? Do you actually feel that you could have consciously done all this diabolical stuff? I'll be honest. And you discern the shit out of me, alright? I don't think I freaking would ever, with more awareness than what we have now, because how it is now, we've got the least possible amount of awareness we've ever had. With the Babylon massacre, our isolation from our... If I show you the other image, say if this has been going on and we've got the least amount of awareness that we've ever had, potentially. So say if we've had more awareness than now, I don't feel I would have done bad. It's not in my nature at all on the soul level. So what I'm wanting to do to you guys out there is invite you to tap into your own truth and feel whether you could have been aligned with this bullshit. Because I honestly, who would, alright? Who would consciously do all this shit? Very few, alright? So you got to ask, am I being obfuscated or given incorrect data relative to me? Because I'm giving my power away on a soul tourism sort of thing. Because it's not my truth. And I'm being influenced by all this stuff, alright? So if I show you the other image, because I've given my power away to this sort of structure, the full setup that we've gone through, alright? And I haven't had all my talents because these Magi's are being hijacked and prevented, so my totality of my potential is not accessible. And I give my power away to these beings that have been seeded through time to set up for now, alright? So I'm just wanting to invite you to undo any of that self-imposed lack that you are bad and stuff, because it's more than likely that you haven't been, alright? My hand's getting tired, I'm shaking quite a bit. So, this is the conscious Tetris image, alright? I'm trying to be a bit overviewist on it, alright? But see how you feel about this. See if you can flip some components you've taken on board as being negative when there's actual good going on and they're trying to react to the volume that they can't control. And they've got to do crazy plans like this. Alright? Implement crazy things that we sort of don't want. Alright? So there's a whole environmental movement and all that sort of stuff. I think it's crazy that they would try and destroy a Monet painting, like the French Impressionists, by the way. Because Monet, like, if you really, like, I love the French Impressionists. You know why? Because in the late 19th century, like the 1850s and stuff, they were so rigid on how you could paint. You had to paint with black. And they protested for that by using complementary colours only, so they never used black. It was like the ultimate form of rebellion in that era of a very rigid structure. So trying to destroy a piece of work, a beauty, and I've been fortunate to be very close to a lot of Monets, alright? In protest of the environment, it just shows you their level of intelligence. It's crazy, alright? Because what Monet and that had to go through, the French Impressionists, was nothing compared to now. Alright? So I'll just finish off because it's getting dark. But another thing of this, what I worked out is from the military perspective, relative to the Incarnation War, you know how they say they go to war memorials, the politicians and stuff, and they say they lay a wreath, alright, like a round wreath, okay? What I got was when they use the words the ultimate sacrifice. This is the Incarnation War soul shards of the system, some species or a Metatron sort of thing in control. And they're talking from that side, the Phantom Matrix side perspective. And what they're saying is that and I'm getting banging behind me. They're saying this is the ultimate sacrifice because they've got a vested interest of sending souls over to the Phantom Matrix. So that round wreath is the Yahweh portal over to the Phantom Matrix to feed on those souls, alright? To power this system from my perspective, alright? So yeah, quite interesting, alright? So I've gone pretty quick and it's not too long and I might include a few clips, but yeah, crazy, hey, quite interesting. So I want to thank you for being here. I hope you get something from this. I hope you discern it a lot, but I hope it unlocks a lot of dormant appreciation and stuff, and perhaps if things seem quite bleak and stuff, it might give you a glimpse of appreciation that it's a sign that they're having to react to positive things, alright? And yeah, so I'm pretty sure this will be the Incarnation War Part 6. So the increased rate of soul churn or something like that. But yeah, it's quite diabolical. And if you're able to take on board this stuff, it's quite brave. Because as I said, this is quite deep in the narrative. So it's a very courageous, contrarian view of most in the reality. All the dogma and all that sort of stuff with religions and stuff like that have a vested interest in this, because it might be interesting bit of homework to go and research all the livestock exports and see which countries they go to and what religion and all that sort of going on, because it might confirm a lot of this sort of stuff. So it's getting dark and I'm being attacked like mad, and I hope this hasn't been too scattered and distracting because they've been eating me like crazy. So the insect community has been enjoying me a lot, saying this in support of them. So yeah, it's just really freaking nasty, diabolical shit, hey. But that's the nature, and you've just got to accept it. And it's not light and love, guys. It's pretty crazy, and my attitude and my posture and my information I offer isn't because it's probably what I want to do, it's what I need to do from the gap I'm seeing in the pattern recognition of the problem that we're in. And as an IT engineer and a problem solver, from my perspective, you can't even understand the problem without a basis of truth. So I want to inspire you to get primal on your truth, all right? To hunt your truth down. One big thing I've also done recently is I've realized that truth that I accept is my responsibility. Like, I've been servant of truth and stuff, but I think if you don't put any responsibility of offering your truth to anybody, any organization such as social media and stuff, and you accept truth as your responsibility, you take the power back and you don't put power into those things. And you just see the outrage mob, like they expect to be fed the truth and they just want to play the victims of the shit that gets sent to them. Well, why don't you take responsibility for that? So from a maximum radius in the house, like to offer you more data to appreciate, I want to thank you for being here, and I hope you get a lot from this. And I really hope you explore my previous videos from this last month or so, and I might redo one that I took down, and we'll see what happens. I might add a bit more to it and take a little bit out and see what happens, guys. So I just want to thank you for the courage to explore this sort of information and allow me to be a part of your journey. And to all those of you that have sought me out for sessions and will do in the future, I look forward to seeing you. And this is a post-speech exploration Andre Hodge in the house, feeling awesome and grateful to be on Earth and this amazing time. And until next time, guys, lots of love. Andre out.
The history here is a riot, but it's also sad. And what's really sad is the little bit of it that has come down through what we call the Bible, and there's some little bits of it in the Koran and those kind of things. There's little bits here and there. But when we get into the Atlantean conspiracy, I'm going to run down. We've mentioned some of these events as went through the first part of that. This is going back a little bit further. Now, some of the Atlantean history is in Voyagers, Volume 2 as well, where it tells how Atlantis was first a large continent, and then certain things were done with the Illuminati races that created major implosions of their massive crystal pylon technologies. That ended up sinking portions of the land and literally sucking part of it down in the Phantom Matrix. Well, the reason I can't find a lot of it, like where is that continent? Because literally it demanifested through the grids and was pulled into the black hole system. So they're going to have a hard time finding all of Atlantis because part of it's down there. Now, Atlantis turned into an island community, large islands, and they were Lohas up in the northeast. There was Brua, Atlantis, down in the south, a little bit west, and there was Nohasa. The whole Noah story came out of Nohasa, Atlantis, and the Illuminati race lines that were coming out of there. When we get into this history, we start to find out what the Exodus was about in the Bible. And you know what's so sad? This is one of the things that I just feel so bad for the Jewish people, because they have been conned into believing that was them. It wasn't even a Jewish Exodus. It was the Hyksos, Knights Templar, Illuminati, Leviathan races that were getting kicked out of Egypt by a competing force of draconian Illuminati races. The history here has been so twisted. So we're going to start to unravel that twist, because these twists are in our memory banks on a race level, which means they're in our DNA as twisted codes. They're also in our radial bodies. The radial body is a part of our 15-dimensional anatomy that, you know how we've talked about Huva bodies, those, circles of energy around us, the three-dimensional egg-shaped spheres of energy around us. Well, around each one of those, there's something called a radial body. The radial body is formed of what are called muons and trion units. They are pre-light, pre-sound units. The radial body becomes very important. Planets have them too, universes have them, harmonic universes. The radial bodies hold the memory imprint of a person or a species or a planet. The distortions that we have now in our DNA template, thanks to the planetary grids, have totally distorted the natural pictures, memory pictures, the digital coding that would give us our natural memory. That's why we don't remember any of it, and they're progressively been recoding it to match Nibiruan memory. So by the time we got in here, they got back in here, we would simply look at them and know them as if they were our creator gods. So this whole thing comes back to, if we learn this history, we see what's being done, we can unravel what was done. We can unravel it in our minds, but also in our gene codes, which means we're going to heal our radial bodies through bringing these frequencies of the true history records in. It'll help to heal the memory twists and the blank spots that are in our radial bodies. By doing that, we'll be able to run more frequency. And when we can understand what has been done here, that's the only way we're going to understand how we can fix it. How is a round table going to fix all this mess, and how is all this mess related to, the pieces of it? How are they related? So we're going to find out about that as we progress through the history. We'll go from the history into the technologies that we're used to do this, and into what we can do to begin the process of healing it. Now, what's interesting is where that reading left off, we've been given a lot more information since last September. We will learn something about the 10,500 BC period. That has to do directly with Philadelphia Experiment and Montauk Project. Has to do with wormholes. That becomes a very significant element of understanding the history and understanding what we have to do here. There's also another part of the information that was given in October, I believe, that has to do with APIN systems, which are Atlantean Pylon Implant Network systems. They're like microchip grids that are literally implanted all through our planetary grids and the planetary shields. And there are a whole bunch of competing ones that at this point, they are coming into activation, and through the United Intruder Resistance, because everybody's putting their grids together to try to combat the Founders' races and to stop the Christos realignment. This is what we are literally being hit with. Frequency fence. We are in the middle of an attempt to create a global frequency fence at this point. The round table that we're doing here, and I had no idea until they gave it to the rest of the security data to me this morning, has to do with making it very difficult for that to happen. Because if the world, if the planetary grids start to carry what's called a frequency fence more than they already have, it will stop the DNA activation that would normally be occurring in people, which means all the frequencies that are still coming in can't process through the DNA, so it'll make people sick progressively.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There is a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.